God has one problem. It's the same problem you have and I have. That problem comes down to one word, and the word has three letters, S-I-N. Let me say it again. God has one problem. You and I have one problem. That problem is sin. That is why Jesus Christ came and died on Calvary's cross, because of sin. The Bible says in Romans 5:12, "For as by one man sin entered into the world, and death by sin." The reason why people die, the reason why there is sickness, the reason why there is war, there are plagues, there's famine, the reason why there is suffering is because of sin. What is sin? Sin is the violation of the law of God. The Bible says in 1 John 3 verse 4, "He that committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law." There's a Bible writer whom I love very much. When I say a Bible writer, she writes about Bible things. Her name is Ellen White. She wrote a book called Faith and Works. In that book, she wrote these words on page 56, paragraph 2. "Now we want to understand what faith is, what sin is, that it is the transgression of the law of God. It is the only definition given in the scriptures. And so sin, this thing called sin, is the transgression of the law of God." What is the law of God? The Ten Commandments. Remember, the Bible says, "Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man." All God requires of you or of me is that we live by his commandments. To deviate from that in thought, word, or deed is to sin. Sin is straying from God's commandments. Sin is disobedience to God. And so, as we contemplate the issue of sin, our question has to be, am I living in obedience to God by the power of Jesus Christ? Because to live an obedient life is to live the life of Christ. An obedient life is not possible for the carnal nature. The carnal nature's natural behavior is sin. To live contrary to the carnal nature, we need the infilling of the divine presence of Jesus Christ to live a sinless life, a life above sin. And so sin is the transgression of God's law. Sin is not poverty. Sin is not living a single life. Sin is not celibacy. Sin is not the failure to gain an academic degree. Sin is the violation of the law of God. What is that law? The Ten Commandments God gave to Moses on Sinai, which tells us, "Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not commit adultery." We know the 10. Any violation of those 10 is sin. Those 10 represent everything God can ever require of any man, any woman, or any angel. It is the standard of upright living. To go contrary that is to commit sin. Let me say something else about sin. No one is born sinning. We are born with a tendency to sin, but no one is born sinning. We are born with a carnal nature. We're born with a fallen nature. That nature itself does not bring condemnation on us. Condemnation comes when we choose to act in accordance with that nature, despite the fact that Christ has made available to us a power to live against our carnal nature and in harmony with the divine nature. Simply put, sin is violating or disobeying God's commandments. An upright life is a life of obedience to God. So may God bless you as you seek to live a life that pleases him by obeying his commandments through the power of the indwelling Spirit of his Son, Jesus Christ.